You all got your students, you got your students?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I did.
I think this is Cindy. Or
Betty, if we want to meet our student there,
yeah.
do we have to like reserve the room or something?
Well, there's not many people that are doing that. So, yeah, send an email to Tammy,
Okay.
and she'll let you know.
Okay.
Um,
I've gotten my first vaccine, so I'm sort of pretty confident, by the end of the week. And I had spoken to Ayat. Well, we've emailed back and forth, and the communication seems a little tough. And I suggested to her if she was comfortable coming there for the first time, at least, and meeting.
Yeah.
I think it would be nice to sort of meet in person the first time.
Yes. I talked to her. I can't remember if I talked to her as well as her husband. His English was good, probably a high intermediate. And it says here she might be a low intermediate. How you haven't talked, so you've just emailed, is that it?
We've just emailed, and it took it was weird because I came in there Wednesday as soon as I got her assigned. I was on the road, and so I ran in and picked up some stuff just to browse, the challenge program and stuff like that. And I wrote her immediately when I went home, and then I didn't hear back. And then suddenly an email popped up on Saturday, and she said she was sorry for the delay, but she had to translate it all into Arabic in order to understand. And so that took her time. So I made the assumption, very sweet note, very, very sweet note. She's so excited about getting going. So I just kind of made the assumption that maybe it would be cool to meet her in person, rather than struggle.
Her husband might be bringing her. They are Muslim. They really wanted a female tutor. Hi, Patrick.
Morning, Patrick.
Morning. Her application does say she drives. So that's why I suggested. I haven't heard back from her. I made the suggestion. I said, "Why, would you like to meet in person?" But I think after checking with you guys today, I was going to call her, her and see if that was a good,
if that works.
Good thing for her.
I don't know if her husband works at home. I don't know if she can. I just can't remember if I ended up talking to her or not. He did all the talking. She may have been on for a couple of minutes. But anyway, so it sounds like if she's doing that much translating in her head, that she must be a pretty basic student or high beginner.
It does. That's what it sounds like.
So it'd be fun.
Yeah.
Claudia, you're here now. Who are we missing?
Yes, I am. Good morning.
Good morning.
Claudia.
Yeah, we're just started to kind of chat here. Mary Ellen had reached her student. So what I usually do is have each of you talk about your student a little bit, if you reach them, if you know where you are. So Mary Ellen is saying that she's emailed back and forth a bit, and she's hoping that they can meet here, and she's kind of waiting to see that. You want to tell us about your student a little bit, though, Mary Ellen?
Yeah, it couldn't have been. I'm sure it was serendipitous, but it can't be a better match. She, her letter broke my heart a little. She said that the reason she wants help is because once her children, who are 6, 5, and 3, started school, the 6 and 5-year-old clearly, she indicated, she didn't phrase it properly, but what it's that she said, one is with a speaking teacher and one is in special classes. So I'm not sure, as a special ed teacher, I'm not sure how to interpret that. If they're in ESL, that's appropriate. That's probably appropriate. Though unfortunate, the children were born here. It's unfortunate that they haven't had enough language, and that's where I feel so bad for her. And she's feeling very guilty now that she wasn't able to prepare them. If they're in ESL, that's appropriate.
And they will.
But-
All the schools have wonderful ESL programs for these
They
kids.
do.
They take
And I
a lot.
know all the
You know that better
ESL,
than I do.
I know all the ESL teachers, but if
Yeah.
they're in special education,
That's another whole
I
thing.
want to find out why, and I
Yeah.
can certainly help her. So it's a perfect match. I can certainly help her
Very good.
navigate that stuff.
Some things are meant to be. That's what they say,
Exactly.
you know.
Exactly. So I'm very
Um,
excited about the match.
Very nice. And where is she from?
I actually know exactly where she lives because my
No,
daughters
I
went
don't mean
to-
here, but what country?
Oh, sorry. Jordan.
Okay, Jordan.
With the main language being Arabic.
Of course.
Which I clearly have
Don't speak. That's good. So
you know,
no problem. Okay.
Yeah, so I'm very excited to get going. She was super excited, just kept saying, I'm so happy you wrote to me. I can't wait to get going. And
And she'll be wanting to help her kids then as well. So if she's a basic person, I'm sure you can picture some things you want to, work with her, letters, numbers, colors. things like that.
Absolutely. And
So she may have other things she wants to know. And so you have to try to ascertain that as well.
sure. And school vocabulary, vocabulary that she can use when she speaks to a teacher about, she's clearly concerned about the placement of her children in
But
classes.
her husband's English is pretty good. So
Good.
that will get them by in the pinch,
Okay.
Okay, so that's great. I'm so happy this all worked out so well. Let's
Yeah.
see. Alan, you were here early on. You have Perla, am I right?
So I have Perla, and in terms of matches, this is another absolute home run that I was a little stunned by. So Perla's from Mexico. She's been here for 12 years. She's employed as a cashier. I don't know how old she is, and she didn't put a date on an age.
Yeah, she does 19. Oh, that's you. Never mind. Yeah, you're right. There's no birthday.
There's no birth date, but she said she had children, so I assume she has kind of young children.
Yeah.
But I spoke with her on the phone, and her English language was pretty reasonable in terms of communication skills. Her goal, though, is to get into a nursing program, either a nursing school or a nurse's aide. In order to do that, she needs to pass the TEAS exam. I had never even heard of the TEAS exam, but I did some research. TEAS stands for Test of Essential Academic Skills. And it's an exam that she has to take that tests her on her math ability, her science knowledge, her English skills, and her reading comprehension.
Oh,
And she has, and I think I would be perfect to help her with her. I mean, I was a math major and science and physician and all that kind of stuff. So I think I'd be very helpful in getting her into that program, et cetera. So that's her goal. Pardon?
Yeah, she had been in here before she went to Mexico. She's just back from Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
Was down there for maybe a month or so, maybe longer. I don't know. And what was I going to say? Yeah, I thought her English was pretty good. I can't see what her education is here, though.
But she said she's taken some science courses, so I'm thinking that she must have had some college level courses. We didn't go into it in that much detail. I didn't know that much about the TEAS exam, but a couple of questions. So what I did is I did some research and I found some relatively inexpensive learning manuals, practice tests. I ordered 2 copies of them. They haven't come yet. She comes to the center every Wednesday evening for an English class that she takes with you folks, I think.
Yeah, that must be Larry. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know who it's with. So she thought that that would be a good spot if we had materials, because we were trying to figure out how can we both work from the same workbook, et cetera. But I have 2 workbooks. She does have a current workbook that a friend of hers gave her that doesn't have a cover to it, but has some pages, and she's been sort of working through it. She was wondering if when she comes in this week, if there's a copy machine that she could use to copy some pages, and then we could go over them. We have a scheduled Zoom session later this. Is there a copy machine there?
There is in the main office here where we are. It's right inside the door.
So when she comes on Wednesday for Larry, I'm going to tell her to bring the book, copy a number of pages that we can work on, and that when we scheduled a Zoom session on Friday, she wants to do 2 hours together. She says an hour goes by too quickly. she's pretty adept, so I think she may be able to handle it language-wise for sure. And my initial goal is to try to assess where she is and what sort of things she needs help with. So I have that, and I also have online some links to a couple of online practice tests that have about 10 or 15 questions. And I think if we go over those together on a Zoom session, I can get a feel for if math is good or bad, if science is good or bad, if English comprehension is good or bad, etc. She said she's had some science classes, so I think she may know that. I don't know. That's
Yeah. I see she's checked any, college. So I'm assuming she's got a high school education, and as you say, maybe she's
done
taken
some college, any college. So so I think
Mm.
she's taken, and she said she did well in those courses. So so she may have that, and I'll be happy to work with her through this. And it really throws a whole learning plan right in my lap with.
So you've got it mapped out in your head, I think, already. That's good. These books that you bought, what were they? The book you said you got.
He's
Oops,
froze.
He froze.
He's in deep freeze. Can you hear me, Alan? Anyway, you said you bought 2 books. I'm hoping you can hear me at least. I didn't quite catch what they were. Did anybody else catch that?
It
No.
sounded like they were prep books that would
I
with
looked at that.
math.
Yeah. Alan?
Sorry, I lost my connection there for a few
Yeah,
seconds.
you were frozen for a minute.
But I'm back now.
You're back from the deep freeze.
Anyhow.
Yeah,
but
the books that you ordered, what were
Yes.
they
So they're test prep books.
for this exam that she has to pass, or just? Shoot,
I'm
freezing
sorry.
again. Are they?
Wow.
Are they
But
specific to this?
They are specific to this test.
with
Yes,
this-
they're specific for the
Okay, that
TEAS
she needs
test.
to know. That's great.
They were only, I don't know,
Right.
$30 each, and I just bought 2. But there are other programs that are in the hundreds that I didn't quite feel comfortable spending.
Yeah,
But
that's very kind of you. Just to do
but I'm
that.
happy to buy 2 books, and she has one, we have one, and they're specifically designed for preparation for this test. So it'll give us both a clue as to what she needs to learn. So
Very good.
Yeah.
That's great.
Hey, yeah, you're off to a good start here. Well, that's Alan from Perla. Robert, I think you were the next one that was on here. Or were you? Maybe it was Claudia.
Patrick, that would be Patrick.
Patrick.
Did I call you Robert again? I'm sorry. You must have
It's
experienced this before.
Yeah, I mean, I've had this problem for about 65 years. Patrick is the first name, Robert is the last name.
Yeah, no, I understand
Actually,
that.
Robert is Robert, and it's a very common name in Switzerland, where my family is from.
It's nothing new to you, anyhow. I used to be smart as my excuse. No, I'm just a wise guy.
So for me, it was to be Roberta,
Yes.
and she sent me an email on Thursday or Friday informing me that we could not meet on that Saturday, virtually or not, because it was her birthday and she would be unavailable. So, but she offered to communicate with WhatsApp or text. So I sent a text wishing her happy birthday and mentioning that it was Friday was my own birthday, so we traded
Happy birthday.
congratulations. And actually, that was pretty much the end of it, because she didn't want to be bothered over the weekend. So I had to reconnect, I guess, sometime this week. She also mentioned that she preferred different timings, so we'll have to discuss that.
Yeah, it looks like morning was supposed to be good for her.
Yeah,
time.
unfortunately,
Okay.
it's not the best for me. I can adjust my schedule, but I'll have
It
to
could be
work.
later morning, perhaps. We'll see what you can do with it.
Yeah.
That's too bad. Hopefully you can.
So
work
what
it
do
out.
you suggest? I should try to contact her today, tomorrow, right?
Absolutely. I mean,
Yeah.
stick with it. And I mean,
Okay.
unless she doesn't want to do it, or she's changed her mind or something, I don't know. But yeah, I mean, it's her birthday. Of course, she's on. It's a weekend, and who knows what else.
Yeah.
So I mean, you can play it kind of cool and just say, so is there a time and a date?
Yeah.
No, it's this kind of thing.
But
So just be pleasantly persistent, and
yeah, I'm
You
sorry.
know.
There's not much more to report, unfortunately.
that's okay. I mean, you've made an initial contact, and I spoke to her on the phone. Is that true? I spoke to her on the phone, Claudia. I think she also volunteers. Yeah, I think she also volunteers in this office a little bit. Helps out Tammy some. So her English is pretty good.
Yeah,
Um,
I noticed. Yes.
You know, you may want to try calling her. And,
Yeah, yeah.
Just chat.
I mean, it
So-
was cordial, but she was just not available.
Yeah, I know. And so it's a weekend. I mean, a lot of people can't or don't want to be tutoring on the weekend, be it tutors or students. So just continue to be pleasantly persistent, as it were.
Yeah.
Good. Claudia, I think you were, let's see, we got your name. I think Claudia was the next one that was online bright and early. How'd you make out?
I did very, very well. The person I will be working with is Camilla, and Camilla is from Brazil. On March 9th, a year ago, she and her husband, as well as 5 other couples, came from Brazil because each of the men were going to be working with the UI.
Oh, yes.
And they may be here for 2 years or possibly 3. It depends on the project. She's 33 years old, and she was a pharmacist in Brazil, and her husband is an electrical engineer. And she's had English classes all through later part of middle school and all of high school and even in college. So her proficiency is quite good. She reads. She's taking 2 different courses now. She is in an ESL program in Milford, and she's also in another program in Shelton. In Milford, she does the class over Zoom, and in Shelton, she's able to meet with the people in person. Now, basically what she wants, one of her goals is to just be able to have a one-to-one person, a native speaker who will really just have great conversation. Because of the pandemic, she really hasn't met, any new people. The only people that she is in contact with are those 5 other couples from Brazil. So of course, when they speak in Portuguese. And when her husband, who's been dealing in English all day, comes home, right, they just speak in Portuguese. But I found that her proficiency level is quite good, and she's very excited just to have a one-to-one. And again, I think that what her other difficulty is, and I understand it perfectly, is that she doesn't retain the information. She'll study the information, she'll do well in the workbooks, but because she doesn't use the vocabulary, she doesn't retain it. So I think that's going to be one of our goals, to make her understand. And I told her to make her brain understand, why this information is useful. As a former teacher, I understand that kids can cram and ace a test, but if you ask them the material in a couple of weeks, they won't know what they're talking about. And it's because the brain doesn't register that this is useful information. So basically, I think that's the route we're going to go. And that's what she'd like to do, is retain. And of course, idioms will also be quite good.
Good.
But what books she should be into, that's something that I'm dealing with. We met on Zoom. We spoke for an hour on Thursday. And we were supposed to meet on Thursdays for 2 hours. She too wants it for 2 hours because she feels 1 hour goes by very quickly. But when I put up a paragraph for her, she read it perfectly. I asked her some questions, and she understood what she was reading.
Good.
So I think that, we're going to just, again, go into a lot of vocabulary, and again, just do a lot of repetition so that, and she'll understand the value of words.
Sounds good.
Do you have any suggestions, Betty, on how I can just go about this, because again, I asked her, is she planning to get a job? And I don't think she is. I think she just
Yeah,
really.
she may not be able.
Right. She
to
has a
on her-
car. She
yeah.
has an international driver's license.
Mhm.
And again, she's been very isolated, but I think she's been very proactive in what she's been doing with her time. But again, do you suggest that I just do conversation, that I just kind of allow her to explain to me what she's been doing in the other classes, or how would you go about this, seeing that she really just wants conversation?
Yeah, and so you need to focus on that, but you need topics as well. I would probably say that she should do a book 2. It might be too easy for her, but again, it's kind of a fun book because each chapter is a different kind of story. Whereas some of the books, like book 1, is all built on these characters that are doing all kinds of funny stuff. And 2 is much more interesting. I think she's beyond a 1, most likely. If she's struggling, then we'll go back to a book 1.
Yeah,
So-
I don't think she'll be struggling. Okay, that was one of my questions. So book 2, yes.
I would say, yes.
Okay.
And did I talk to her? Can I tell you? Claudia, Zoom, FaceTime. Yes, I must have talked to her a little bit. Because I kept calling her Camilla, and I said, I don't mean Camilla, I said it's Camila. So, and we both laughed. So yeah, she speaks pretty well. And so that book would be good. Again, we're asking you to try to do at least 1 chapter out of it a month, and mostly so you can see the progress, we can see the progress, you know. And the chapter doesn't necessarily take long, and there's all kinds of stuff in it. You know, there's reading comprehension, there's word building, things that will be helpful, you know, to the students, no matter what they're doing and what their plans are. So, so that would be
So that
good.
is the goal for us to get, thank you for that information, a chapter a month, at
At
least,
least, yeah.
if
Again,
not more.
yeah, I mean, they may really like it and want to do some, you know, a couple times a month, but it will help us all to understand what kind of progress is being made. And they'll feel good about it too. They get to keep 1 book, and then you take 1 out from the library here to use, but of course that has to come back.
Okay.
Okay,
very
so
good.
you're underway. So, Jane.
Yeah. My person is named Patricia Souza.
Souza, yeah.
Did you happen to talk to her? Because we just exchanged emails, and her email was pretty good. Well, good, very good. But then she lists herself as a beginner, and I myself have used Google Translate, so she could have just done that.
I think.
So I know very little, except that we're going to meet tomorrow on Zoom.
Okay,
And maybe she's part of this group with you, Claudia, because she's from Brazil too.
Ah, interesting.
And
Huh.
she said she heard about this through a friend.
yeah,
So-
all 5 of them are involved one way or the other here, I think.
Oh, they are?
Yeah, either in classes or tutors or whatever. And they have formed, they're so fortunate to have each other here so that they're not totally isolated, you know, to be in a strange country with strange people. And, you know, not to have any friends particularly. It's, I'm sure it's very comforting, very helpful to all of them to, you know each other. So I'm pretty sure that that's the case. I certainly know some of them, if not all of them, are friendly. She was.
Claudia, does she, where does she live?
She lives in Shelton. I had asked her, you know, how many students were in her classes in ESL in Shelton, and she said about 5. But then she said, oh, and there's a Brazilian also in my Shelton class. And I said, oh, is that one of your friends? And she said, no.
Yeah, there are a lot of Brazilian folks.
Yeah, so there's a lot of Brazilians. Yeah. Interest. That's it. Yeah.
You're saying she lives though in Shelton. We have her as living in Fairfield.
Oh, mine is
So
in, Patricia is in Fairfield.
Oh,
Claudia.
I'm sorry, I'm flipping back. Yes, okay. I'm sorry, I'm getting mixed up here. So yeah, yeah, she had been here back in 2019,
Oh,
and she was taking the women's class, I think, once a week. And she might have had a youngster that she brought along. And then she left us because she was going to do ESL classes in Bridgeport.
Okay.
So maybe she finished with that. 2020. Oh. So they stopped just a year ago in January of 2020, and she went to the classes in Bridgeport. So she, it seems to me she was not real good in English. So she may have come a long way at this point if she's been taking any kind of intensive classes. So
her story is she's 38. She has 2 children. Her goal that seems concrete is to get a driver's license.
oh, okay.
And then the rest is what everybody wants to be able to do, read, be more fluent, communicate better, pronunciation, writing, grammar. And she doesn't list much more on here, so I'm thinking that she's, a homemaker. She does say she has a graduate degree, but I don't know in what.
Well, was what, 3 small kids or 2 small kids? 2, yeah. She's probably busy just keeping an eye on them. But yeah, she was, I can picture her very clearly in the class. So she's been going to these Bridgeport classes. I would think that she'd be pretty much better than she was anyway.
Yeah.
I don't know whether you're gonna need a 1 or a 2 book with her.
Yeah.
Now you haven't,
Tomorrow.
they're meeting tomorrow.
May I come after, like on Wednesday or Thursday, and look through the books?
Yeah, I mean, you could come in earlier
Okay.
to see what they're like. And maybe you could take one of each and, have her look and see what, give her a little test, have her read one or see what she can do. Because remember, I always say it's better to come in low than to come in high.
Yeah.
If it's too complicated, they get discouraged. They get, they don't want to continue. Where if it's lower, it's a little bit more easy. They feel like, hey, I know my stuff,
Yeah.
So sure. There's books. Have you been in the office?
Very briefly, just to pick
Okay.
up the teacher material.
Yeah.
And, but I could
So-
come tomorrow. I could come tomorrow.
Yeah,
late.
good. Tammy will be here.
Okay, good.
But conceivably even Thursday morning. Oh, you're meeting tomorrow. I don't know why I'm so mixed up with you. You're meeting
Wait a
tomorrow
minute.
with
I'm
her.
meeting with her tomorrow. I can't come. No.
Oh, where are you meeting? Online?
Zoom. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So,
I
okay.
have materials because I was teaching in Bridgeport. Maybe I even know her. So I have stuff I could use.
Do you have ESL background? Do I mention that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Good. Here. Perfect cup of tea here for. Looks like everybody got marriage made in heaven here. Like perfect people for everybody. I'm so happy.
Yeah.
Does happen every now and then. They're all online. And again, any one of them could just drop out of sight for whatever reason. Remember, if that happens, it's not you. We do need to know. But their lives change, and not everybody can continue as they did in the beginning. It might be less problematic now that you meet online. It's one thing when they physically meet with you, whereas being online, everybody's a little bit more flexible, I think, than they might be otherwise. Let's see how that goes. Anything else anybody wants to say about all this? You feel comfortable with the first meeting? You're still trying to get a hold of yours, Patrick, to make that happen. Perla's okay. That's okay. So, all right. So, try to get, be sure you can ascertain, and most of you have said that you have what their goals are. See what kind of specific things you can break that down into in terms of objectives, but the specific things you're going to do. Has anybody worked on a survival kit? Got any of the stuff for it? Some of you might benefit from, having some of those kinds of things where there's preschoolers in the house and you're not sure how much the mother, knows some of the basics. Getting the pictures together at the very least. Mirror might help sometimes. So just see about that, what you can do with it.
Okay.
Good. Okay, so we've got to that first hurdle. Vicky is not going to be joining us for chat anymore. She's going to just watch the recording. She's gotten her student as well. She is, after all said and done. Yeah. Okay, she may just be here. Beth and Helen. Okay. So we had some homework last week. Were you able to get onto some ESL sites?
I have a list of them that I could email to people or I could put up on the share screen. But that's what I have.
I think he's here. The share screen.
The thing about share screen, I don't know if the host or if it's only the host who can share or if you have it set up that the participants can too. But if
Tammy,
Tammy could give me
can
people's,
we set up a share screen? And how do you do that? Okay. It's open, Tammy says.
it is, and I could put something up.
Well, can certainly try.
Okay.
Well, she's trying.
Let me see.
Maybe this is underneath here. Let's see. Yeah, Shane is trying. Let me see what's underneath here. No.
It said that Jane has been assigned as co-host. It
Oh.
just came up.
I'm not a co-host, that's for sure.
No, I know, but it just flashed and said you've been assigned co-host of meeting
Uh-huh.
Oh, really?
on mine anyway.
Okay. Let's see. Go ahead and talk, Betty, and I'll just try and figure this out.
Betty,
Okay.
do you have any experience with once I realized started in the direction of what IET is going to need, I found and it's escaping me now and I can't switch from this onto my Amazon account. I found a really cool book on Amazon that had a component once you buy the book, which again I'm fine with doing. Once you buy the book, it had a component, an audio component that they automatically gave you. And in fact, they sent me an email saying, welcome to blah, blah, blah. Have you found those to be good, like audio? Now, again, I'd have to figure out if I could share that with her, like assign that audio bit to her. Have you used any of those?
I have no experience with that at all.
Okay.
Tammy, do you know anything about audio? It's not an audio book though, is it?
No, it's she would have the book. It was really cool. You have the book and it, what I thought was really cool about it was you would go to the page and it repeats phrases. Hi, my name is so-and-so. But it had it in, because one of the things that I was reading about is they're going to come in contact with not just people who speak exactly like I will speak. It was a bit of an English accent. And then somebody said it in a bit of an Indian accent, introduced themselves so that you would get used to hearing different intonations. And so I thought it was really cool.
Yeah.
But I didn't know if you've used them and thought, oh no, that's kind of confusing, or not everything does that, but it's something she could work with at home.
How advanced is she?
A
beginner.
It sounds to me like she's a beginner, since she said that she had to translate everything into Arabic.
Yeah, that might be too much for her.
Okay.
At the moment, I would think she's not going to be meeting a lot of people with funny accents. So it might just be more just divide her attention where she's just trying to learn basic stuff.
I held off on it, yes, until, and
I would
that's
hold her
why
breath, I think.
everybody's person seems to be, a lot more advanced than IET seems to be. So I held off because that was my instinct, and that's one of the reasons that I want to meet her in person, because I think that it's that she's lower than,
Yeah. Yeah.
even Zoom, I think might, oh, here comes Jane.
Here comes something.
I'm just fooling around with it. I'm having trouble. So I'm going to ask Tammy, can I just email the list to Tammy and then she could distribute it by email to everybody if they're interested?
Sure.
I
Sure,
think
you can
that's
do
probably
that.
easiest. Okay,
Let's see if there's anything here.
thanks.
Okay. You make this come back by. Uh-huh.
I just hit your picture, Jane, and I mean Betty, and you came back up. I hit your little face down in the corner, and Jane's faded away, and you came up. You're full screen
Yeah,
for me now.
Okay, here we go. We're back to full force
Yep.
here. Is everybody here who's here? Claudia? Yeah. Any other questions anybody has about material that they've looked at or they're thinking about, or where did Alan go? Yo, Alan.
Yesterday, I went online and I just found there's lots of different idioms, because I think that Camilla will really enjoy the idioms. And so there's just lists and lists of it. I downloaded 377 common idioms.
Oh, boy. There are a few, I think, in the next chapter as well.
Yeah.
That you have.
Yeah, I gave her the one when we were speaking about it's raining cats and dogs, which I love.
And we say that often enough too,
Yeah.
especially these days. So many buckets. Okay, so anybody else get into sites that they liked or want to share? Or that they went into that are just here and found useful? Did everybody get into ESL?
Yeah, to be done.
There you are, Alan, you're back again.
Oh, I found the share. I don't know how to, I guess if everybody puts up share, they'd see it.
Oh, there you are. There.
Do you see a bunch of websites?
Yep.
Mhm.
Yeah, ESL Cafe, yeah,
Yeah, that's a good idea. Take a picture of it.
yeah.
Oh, that I don't know how to do. How do you do that?
Just take your camera up and as if you're taking a picture of a person, just take a picture of
Take
your
a picture.
screen.
Oh, sorry. With another device, you mean?
Yeah, just with your phone. Or are
Oh.
you using your phone?
No, I'm on my iPad. My phone's not with me right now. I can't take a screenshot of this. I take it.
No, I can help you here.
You can.
You put your fingers on Shift, Commands, and number 3.
Oh,
Oh.
Lord.
Shift.
You have a Mac or PC?
I'm on an iPad, so I can't even bring up my.
Oh, well.
Yeah. Yeah. That's okay. That's all right.
Did you get into these sites or any of them?
Me?
Yeah,
I've used them before. Yeah.
you've used them before.
And
Yeah,
this
because
other
ESL
one-
Cafe is there.
Yeah. The one at the bottom, I don't have the website. I just bring it up with Google Chrome is Quizlet. And I'm taking Spanish classes and I like it a lot. You can create flashcards and it has games with the flashcards. And if you're a flashcard person, it's great.
Yeah, and some of you might use those effectively with your students. Is that Quizlet.com or something, or it's,
Yes.
yeah. Okay. And they get,
If
Hey,
you're-
Jane, can you email this anyway
Yeah.
as well?
I'll email it to Tammy. It'd probably
Thanks.
be the most efficient thing.
Thanks.
Okay.
good.
Are you all done and I can stop the share?
Sure,
Sure.
yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you.
And
Anybody
what
else?
did you, Patrick, what did you just say to do a screenshot? It's Shift Command 3.
You put your fingers on Shift and Command, and then you type number 3, and it takes a picture.
Excellent. I've always wondered how to do that. Oh, thank you.
How did you figure that out?
He's
Wow.
a genius. I've known.
Right?
Yeah.
I've
A quiet
known
genius,
Patrick-
indeed.
I've known Patrick. I've known Patrick for years, and he's a genius.
Learn that
Okay
there.
then.
Thank you
That
very much.
explains
I don't think so bad.
And where does the picture show up? that a dumb question?
On your screen.
Oh, on my screen. Okay,
Yeah.
that sounds like an
It's
idea.
a screenshot.
Oh,
It's called a
the
screenshot.
Okay,
The new file.
man.
I learned all this at Bear.
You don't always have what?
At Bear, we were in the same company a while ago.
20 years
Ah.
ago.
Yeah,
Like
Jane.
Bayer.
we were
Ah,
at the same
Yeah.
company.
like Bayer aspirin.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes. Okay. Alan, did you find anything?
To be honest with you, I focused on researching the T's test and the
Yeah,
materials
so-
there. I didn't quite, because it's not going to be about English language words as much as the material for the test. So I didn't
Sure.
spend a lot of time on that.
Okay. What else did we have? We had just a
Well,
little.
me, it was my birthday, so I took it
Yeah.
a little light.
Okay.
The
Birthday
real
boy doesn't
reason
have to
is
do
I
it.
had my shot, so I took a little bit of time for this
Ooh,
vaccine.
congratulations.
Congratulations to the governor. What can I say? You know,
Where did you get yours, Patrick?
West Haven.
Okay. I did it at we went to CVS the other day and they just did an
Really?
absolutely amazing job.
Yeah. Well,
What's
Yeah.
CVS?
They've started it at CVS now. Betty, CVS and Walmart has started to roll it out. And
Yeah.
we were assigned to the CVS in Bridgeport
Okay.
and it was just seamless. They did it beautifully. You went right in, back to the pharmacy area of the store and
Huh.
yeah, they did a great job.
I wondered
My
if it was a
aunt-
drive-in kind of thing, but
It
no.
was not.
They didn't
No,
have
you
room.
just went right into the pharmacy and
Uh-huh.
it really it took about 20 minutes. I mean, there
Yep.
wasn't a crowd. It was really, really good. Yeah.
Was it easy enough to schedule?
I have been an absolute pit bull, Jane. I got to be honest. I waited up until midnight on the 11th. I turned 65, so on the 11th, I knew that I could register, and I waited up till after midnight. The website didn't come up, but it finally came up at 6 a.m. I was a bit tired, but I got on and I got an appointment immediately for my husband and myself. So
Very good.
yeah. So you just got to be vigilant. You got to be, and I was hopping around from Walmart to CVS to VAMS to, it's doable if you just stay on it.
You have to be tenacious. That is
Yep.
pretty much the bottom line.
Yep.
All the phone lines for these places are very busy. I did
Yep.
mine through Griffin. Originally it was going to be at the hospital, and then I think it was just too much for them. They moved it down to their occupational health
Yep.
site, which was very, very nice.
Yeah. My son is a teacher at Boys and Girls Village. So even though he's, 30s,
Mhm.
he, it's a residential. So it was considered like a nursing home. And that's
Mm.
where he had it done. Betty was at Griffin. The first one
Yeah.
at Parsons, which he said was flawless. And his second was done at Griffin, which he said was a bit more messy. He was an hour and a half in line. So that was a bit,
Yeah, I
bit
think it
tough,
depends
but-
on the time of day there. I had one at
Exactly.
7 o'clock in the morning and bing bang,
Oh.
and then I had another one at 3:20 on Friday, and it was like no parking, and people just circling around and having a hard time.
exactly. That's
But-
when he hit it after school
Yeah,
on a
yeah.
Thursday. Yep.
Not a good time.
So
But anyway,
But
yeah, so anybody
worth
who's
it.
looking to do it,
It's worth it.
being tenacious is the bottom line to it.
Yep.
What about classes? Did anybody attend a class
Not yet.
online or, Dave's or Larry's or anybody's?
So can you talk, what specific classes, I was a little confused. Are these classes, auditing classes that they are giving, or are these classes designed for tutor
Yeah,
instruction?
these are our tutors doing classes for our students. Anybody who
Okay.
wants to join. So it's just nice to see somebody in action doing these things. I
Okay.
think, gives you a little reassurance. David Bach does it on Monday night
Yeah.
in the evening at 6:45. Larry is doing his on Wednesday.
Is there a cycle, or is it we can hop on the train anytime.
I think you need to get a hold of Tammy before you, I mean, you can go in and not feel out of place.
Oh,
I think they do different kinds of things each week, so they might be related. I'm not quite sure. Everybody does something a little different.
we have to talk to Tammy first?
Yeah, just be sure that you can get in there without any trouble.
Betty,
Okay.
she sent an email giving us a list way back. Did you guys get it? Remember the email? And it listed those classes that we could pop into. Is that,
Yeah, I think you remember, yes.
remember? Can we
Okay,
just
yeah,
hit
yeah.
like
We'll have
that link? Is
Yeah.
that a link that brings us into it, you think?
Well, don't ask me, I don't know.
Tammy,
Are these in-person classes only or Zoom classes?
Larry's is in person, but I think it's also been recorded. You had sent out a list of sites, where classes are being held early on.
It's on the website.
Okay, yeah, and it's on the website, and I know that. But if they just go into that, they don't have to go through you at all? At one point, you were saying maybe better to call.
So I sent them the link, so if they wanted to be on one that's live, that's fine, but there are some that are already on YouTube. So if they don't want to disrupt the class, they can actually just watch a past one.
Oh.
And then not get in the middle of it.
Okay, that's the
Yeah.
point. There's some that are on YouTube. So again, you can watch the dynamics of,
Pronunciation classes on there, your class is on there.
Yeah.
Larry is on there.
There's-
So there's
yeah.
a few to watch.
okay. There's a good pronunciation class that's on YouTube. We have a woman who's a very experienced ESL teacher who's just kind of started those things that are just kind of eye openers, I think, for new tutors and even more experienced ones. That's a real good class. So try YouTube for sure.
I have done that, and there's one where somebody does a crossword puzzle with the students. on
Yes, I think
YouTube.
that's Larry. I think Larry
Okay,
did the
okay,
crossword
got it.
puzzle. Again, that's a tool that you might not think about. We do have the Easy English News. As you can get a copy of here. A lot of good ideas in that, including crossword puzzles. Number of good things. So I just would encourage you to do it, again, to give you a little more confidence, although many of you have a good bit of experience teaching. Doing ESL can still be different. And it might give you a little extra confidence. We're also going to look at that second scenario. We had done Beata last week, and her coming to America to help, coming to her daughters to help her out because daughter had lost a husband. Celia has come from Tonga to live with her daughter, and she's been widowed. Now has to go to work full time. There's 3 small children. They speak a little Tongan. Celia knows a little English. Hope she can help out with babysitting. No, she needs a lot of help. Thrilled to death to have you. So what might be some of her goals?
Well, when I was looking at that, I really got interested in babysitting because I would think that if I was working with her, I would really need to explain to her really what the requirements are in America to babysit, effectively. And I went online and I found a wonderful that the Red Cross gives a wonderful certificate in babysitting. Right. And really, I would have loved that, just to be able to get her to see that and to have her realize really what requirements. I mean, it would be depending on what does she really want to do with this babysitting, because as a babysitter nowadays, one really needs to know about allergies. One needs to know, even about CPR and whatever. But I don't know if people from other countries realize really what they really need. Yeah.
Good point. And the truth be told, most Tongans tend to live in Tongan communities. So knowing really good, it would be a much more, I'll watch your kids if you watch mine kind of thing is what I'm thinking. But nevertheless, at very least that she would know 911, there was a problem. They might not even, I don't even know if they do money, if the truth is. Think about it, you know, maybe they might give them something to take home to eat or something like that. Yeah, I'm not sure how viable that is as a goal, but to
Right.
make a good point, I remember another person had mentioned that, you know, when we looked at it. So what other kinds of stuff?
I was thinking she would need to be able to go grocery shopping if she wants to support the family. So learning how to make a grocery list, go to the supermarket, what the names of the items are, ask for them, pay for them. If she doesn't drive, there was a bus issue. She might have to take the bus to.
So those might be good objectives. So just to want to be able to help the family
Yeah.
in everyday life. So going to the store, riding a bus, getting the kids to school. Good points. So you need to break it down for like shopping. What kinds of things does she need to know? I think you've already said money, certain kinds of products. You could do a dialogue, you know, with her asking for directions, you know, where's the flower? What aisle is it in? That kind of thing. Specific types of questions that would be useful, or lessons that would be useful in helping her to do the things that she needs to do to help the family. And we've got small kids here. What might you want to be able to do in terms of them? We've got there's 4 children, ages 3 to 10. Okay, she's got, so they go from ages 3 to 10. So some are preschoolers. So, you know, you can what kinds of things the preschoolers need to know? You know, colors, shapes,
Numbers, and yep.
yeah, all that kind of thing. And you can review that with her. She might know them, she might not. But she wouldn't see it as a put down, or you wouldn't feel like you're putting her down. I mean, you know, this kind of stuff. Again, if she's really more basic than she is a higher student, she really needs to know this stuff so she can help these kids, you know. That would be important to her. And again, she's the adult who's now in a more dependent role. Nice to be able to help the children with basic kinds of information. If they come home from kindergarten or preschool, you know, she can go over the shapes, over the colors, over the numbers. And of course, she's learning herself as she does this. So all that stuff gets to be really helpful.
And if we weren't in the pandemic, I would really even make her aware of the library and all of the things that occur in the library for preschoolers.
Yes.
So there are a lot of, you know, different places that she could go and she could take them. So that's what I would, you know, give her some information on, and we could work on that.
Yeah, very good point. There's many good programs there, you know, story hours that can be fun for the kids and fun for her as well. You know, a place to go that's stimulating for the children. Take them to a playground if you know of a place like that. But yes, that's really good. Libraries are really important parts of people's lives. To get a library card, almost any or all of your students might or might not. Let's see my train of thought. They're just saying here, hello.
Benefit from having a
library
library card.
Yeah. You know, there's so much use for that. There's so many things you can, you know, you can get pans to cook a cake in. Ain't nothing you can get pictures to put on the wall for a while. I think that's a riot, not the library we used to know. So that's a good place to introduce your students to in any event. And some of them, like Perla, might very well know her way around in the library, because she's been here for a while. Okay.
I'd want to make sure she knows how to access PBS Kids TV programming for the preschoolers. And
yes, good point for everybody. If they have small kids, Sesame Street, PBS programs, yes, they're all wonderful. My Afghani former student who had twins, she just ran that all day. You know, whenever I go down there, she said, "Oh yeah, I just have it up there." It's just kind of rubbing off on the kids. They didn't speak a lot of English at home, but she really wanted the kids to learn, and it was really important that they be exposed to this. So she said, "Yeah, put it on." Just keeps going. So that was nice. So good point, Ellen. Thank you.
I have a question. Where do I find a list of the foods that you can buy in a supermarket?
A list of the foods.
Yeah,
Try,
like the veggies.
yeah, I'd say go online. I mean, I don't know, but you know, I would think either an ESL, there might be lessons, someplace in an ESL lesson book, you know, or site that would list vegetables, or just make a list of veggies yourself.
Yeah, well, I tell you
Um,
why, because depending on the country you come from, you don't find the same thing in the States.
That's right.
Like, I still have this problem myself. Because
What are you
in
looking
France,
for? French fries?
No, I'm serious. In France, you don't find sweet potatoes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, broccoli is rather new, and everything has a different name.
Very
So
good point.
there's a lot of discovery there.
There are a lot of markets that students go to that we would never go to, where all the food that they like is there.
Well,
you know,
I don't know.
that's
I'm
what,
not sure about that either.
yeah.
There's a lot of
Yeah,
food
I
I
mean,
like as a Frenchman, which I don't find, and vice versa.
yeah.
Yeah.
Probably not too many French stores, but there must be things out there somewhere that you could find. Who knows? I mean, it could be. But yeah, leave it to, your students to find a good place for a lot of Arabic things may be available that aren't here. Spanish foods,
Yeah,
Turkish
we'll find out.
things. But anyway,
But
I say
it's
go
one
online and
thing-
see. Yeah.
It's one thing that I want to address because it's a problem. You find
Yes, it
yourself
is
in a
definitely a
store
problem. That's a good
and
point.
you don't know what you're buying.
Yeah.
So if they ask for a cassava, that they may be familiar with, maybe here we're not so, but we would know it by a different English word. So yes, it's always a challenge, all these good things. So give that a whirl, let us know if you find it. Okay, what's going on here? What time we got here? Jeez, 10:30 already. Grammar sites. Okay, well, why don't we just get in the book to look at the next level of student that we're talking about, which is the intermediate student. This is our little manual, not the book, but the manual that the tutor training manual that we passed out. While we may have more likely met a more beginning type of student in our work experience or educational experience, and intermediate students you may or may not have had as much exposure to. These folks are pretty good with routine conversations, and they're good because they know some good basic vocabulary. They can integrate or figure out new words when they're introduced much more easily than a brand new student could. You're going to be speaking more normally, again, maybe a little bit slower than you might. You might still have to do some repetition. If they hear it a couple of times, it's more likely to come across. They're familiar with basic grammar. They can ask questions to better understand a lesson that you're having, something that they've read, and can talk about more topics than certainly a beginning student can, who may be very much into basic greetings and simple kinds of questions. At both levels, you're always working on new vocabulary, trying to expand their knowledge of it. Again, knowing, depending upon what their goals are, you might be trying to use more words that would be used in medicine, Alan, for Perla. Again, she may have some knowledge of these things too. So to the extent that you know something that they want to learn that you can use to integrate into your lesson, you want to try to do that. Some stuff is pretty basic, this, that, these, and those. They've got to know that kind of thing. You've got to work it into lessons as you're going along. Superlatives, comparatives. These are all things that they need to know to be able to express themselves. For reading, Again, they can understand better, simplified material, although they make the differentiation here with things like, I call it authentic material. More trouble with newspaper articles, cartoons, even movies, cereal boxes. These things may elude them a bit. And they might have questions about it too. Bring on a cereal box. What does it say here? It doesn't make any difference. Snap, crackle, and pop. What's that? You know, that might not be terribly meaningful to them. And what I found useful with a student like this, one of the last points that says, you know, can use written material for grammar and language arts. What I did for one student that seemed to work well for us was to go over a lesson that I might have planned. And then there would be a take home of something out of Regents. I can't think of the full name of it, but it has maybe 20 sentences or whatever part of grammar they're talking about, like verbs that end in ed. You know, students sometimes want them to walked and talked. They want to accent that ed sound, and you don't do it with certain verbs, where others you do, and none of which I can think of at the moment. Somebody help me. I talked. Okay, talked. You know, I talked to them. I walked to the store. Well, they want to say I talked to them. I walked to. So you need to help them with that differentiation at this point in time, or even sooner if it should come up. But those are things that make it difficult for people to understand them if they are saying it like that. And of course, they want to speak better. They want to speak well. So I would go through this whole lesson just verbally, and then she would take it home and have to write the answers, and then we would go and review them again. So you're getting repetition in 3 different times in the course of this particular lesson, and she found that very helpful. You know, finally gets in your head as something that is useful to her and something that she needs. Writing, something that can write quite well. Again, keeping in mind that, I said before, students may be slow at the speaking part of English, but reading it well and even comprehending it well may be good, but writing it maybe not. Or they can write, but they can't, you know, so you need to assess your students' skills. Because some of them can put together a very nice little paragraph or two. We used to have, and I don't think it's in here, maybe we'll find it later on. It was like a picture of a sandwich, and the top piece of the sandwich was the introductory sentence, what the topic of the sentence, and then the hamburger and whatever was in the middle was the sentences about the topic, and then the bottom piece of bread is the conclusion, you know, of the topic. So you might want to review some of that with them if they're not familiar with that as a writing process in their own country. I don't know that all languages do that. I don't know how that all comes together in other languages. It seems to us like it's the only way that makes any sense, but in reality, many things make sense, and depending upon how you've been brought up to look at written literature. Any thoughts about that? Any questions?
Do you advocate them watching like movies with subtitles? Is that a technique that people use?
Yes, something to be encouraged. At a beginner level, it's probably lost on them. Well, I say that, you know, the real eager beaver is doing that probably already. They've got a television that's got the subtitles in there. It's to be encouraged. If they can, you know, try to put the two together, you know, that's good. Some might even have it in their own language, like Spanish, translated to that. So, of course, they're making these mental flip-flops between the English and the Spanish, but it may help them to understand the stuff that they're seeing on TV. Even radio can be encouraged, and I don't know how much radio people listen to and whether there's much talk radio that they would listen to anyway. But yes, it's good stuff, Alan, and many of them of them do use that. There's a sample lesson here. I'm back here. And you can see just even looking through the few pages that it's much more sophisticated than the beginning lesson. And this is about writing about a routine and how to organize it. What kinds of things, what kind of words are needed. That you need to mention when you do things and how often you do them. And then they give this firefighting as a routine job as the example. And I can't think who Jack is being interviewed. It says we're all firefighters and we spend very little time fighting fires. We spend most of our time just getting in shape for it. People think our job is exciting, but it's really very routine with a few exciting moments. So he talks about what he does, helps him to stay in shape. He gets up early in the morning at 5 o'clock. He exercises a half an hour, takes a shower, eats a good breakfast. I need to stay in shape. He watches the weather reports at 6:30 and then leaves for work. So he talks about his routine. So then underneath it, they're asked to put in order the things that he does. So exercise, get up, he gets up, would be number one. Exercise is to identify the kinds of things that he does. They talk about the words that you use when writing about routines, always, usually, sometimes. And then there's on the next page, there's a little conversation that you can have between yourself and your students. Excuse me a minute. And it's also kind of a check on comprehension. Did they really know what they were reading? Can they ask questions and answer them? Does he ever forget to exercise? No, he never does. Yes, he does. Watch the weather report at 5:15. No, he always watches it at 6:30. This is where the talking part of the lesson comes in. The next one is Brenda, who's a firefighter. Here they don't talk about the routine per se, but they do pictures. And so, they have to write underneath what happens at this time, 6 o'clock. 6 o'clock, she gets up, 6:15 exercises. So they have to put the words in. Then there's a paragraph to complete. Again, they have to put the words in there to make a whole paragraph. They talk about arranging ideas to be able to write. And there's a paragraph, Dear Claudia, on the other side. They have to be able to read it and tell you what was the paragraph about. Are there any sentences that don't belong? That often happens in writing, There's something that's thrown in that's related by color or, I don't know, something that really has nothing to do with anything. So, they're asked, is there some kind of a sentence in there like that? On the next page, they're asked to pick out 5 sentences.
At what page are you? What document? What page, please?
What page? Well, we're on page 5.
Page 5.
In the
5,
manual.
week 3. I'm sorry, I didn't realize. Is everybody with me here?
Yeah, in the
Yeah.
manual.
Yeah, we're in the manual, week 3.
Okay, thank you.
Got it? Okay, so we see Brenda on the left-hand side, page 4, and her routine. Page 5, we've just gone through a bit. On page 6, now they have, the directions are before it, but they have to pick out 5 sentences and write a paragraph. So you see all this stuff is just kind of reinforcing repetition in a different way. And then they have a wind down activity. That's something that this author kind of likes to do. And of course, sometimes most of you who are teachers, classes just end. I mean, you're talking right up to the end and you still haven't really finished everything you wanted to do. But, sometimes you might want to do something different. And this is just totally different than anything we've talked about, but it's still helpful to me. You got it, Patrick?
Yeah, no, that's fine. No,
You're
no.
with us, okay. And then for like the homework assignment, down at the bottom there, choose one of the sentences and finish writing the paragraph. So now they'll have a chance to apply that which they have studied. So this is much more challenging than you might think. It was very difficult for one of my intermediate students, and we really plowed through it. It was a tough 2 hours to go through, but for some it would not be. And it exposes them to vocabulary and writing skills that they may need to hone up on, might already know, a good review. They talk about the intermediate student speech emergence, which is page 7. You might want to look at, if you have an intermediate student, you might want to look at this more closely. It'll give you some more ideas of things that you might want to be sure to include. Likewise, there was one of these for the beginning student at the end of the beginning lesson. You might want to look at that just for ideas. I mean, there's so many things that you need to include or to want to be able to help your student with. And, it mentions any number of things here. The comparatives and superlatives, prepositions, regular past tense ED words, demonstrative adjectives, reflexive pronouns. I myself went to the store. He himself picked up the book. Reading directions, that can be a fun lesson. No, it's not gonna be that much of a fun lesson. A much more fun lesson if you're doing it in person. Cooking something, baking something, like a cake box, a brownie box. Beata had two kids who loved anything chocolate, and so we spent a lesson. We used to go to her home. We spent a lesson looking at the brownie box and how to do it. And they have pictures now of eggs and teaspoon pictures, so it's really not as difficult as it might seem. So she kind of learned how to read American boxes of foods that are prepared by the person as opposed to buying the brownie. So a lot of good things that will be included in there, which also brings to mind the whole business of teaspoons, kilograms, pounds. I think we're like one of the few people in the world that do pounds versus kilograms.
Right. Weight, yeah.
That may be something you'll have to spend a little bit of time, because they're used to buying things by the kilogram at the store, and obviously we don't. And even teaching them to pay attention to a flyer, they might see 89 cents for red peppers, or may not be the best example, but if they don't read it carefully, each versus pound, they may not be getting the bargain that they think they are. So a more advanced student might really enjoy going through a flyer, because many of them, I don't know, some of them anyway, they don't get them in their home. They can pick them up in the store when they go in, and just to key them into looking at these words that change the price of things in a second. And on the back of that, there's suggested lessons that you can consider. And it kind of reflects the stuff that's in many ways, it's in the intermediate speech list. Talking with the doctors, making appointments. I think I've mentioned that before, is something that's probably important for everybody, either to ascertain that they already know this, to do a dialogue with it, whatever, might be necessary to do. Transportation, getting directions. And then there's a list of resources. We have many of these books in our library here that you can take out. Not to be given to the students, but you could copy, lessons out of it or get ideas. Any other thoughts, questions? Okay. Dialogues. Dialogues are very useful. Well, to me, there's two kinds of dialogues. One where you really want, where it's as much a speaking, listening exercise for your students as it is to teach them something. Because they're not going to be reading this dialogue from a piece of paper. Okay, they have to listen to you and eventually to respond. So if you're doing it, keep that in mind. If you're doing a dialogue with them, ideally something that would be useful to them, and practice them. I've seen another kind of dialogue on the on a video where the teacher has probably a low intermediate group of students, and they want to know what to do when they go to a store to return something or to ask questions about clothing. What should they ask? So they write up the dialogue together, and the teacher writes it all out on the board, and they talk about it. Then they get up and role play besides. So there's something that was very specific that a number of students in that class wanted to know, and was very practical and very, very useful, and you might find something like that. My experience with this was a student from Turkey who really struggled, did not have a lot of contact with English-speaking people, but came here for a class at noontime and lived close to where I worked and fairly close to here. So she didn't have transportation, and I was off at noontime, so I would run to her house, pick her up, drop her off, and then somebody got her home. So the deal was she had to call me every week and ask me for the ride. Well, I mean, it was a given that was going to happen, but we practiced this dialogue forever, and still it's just so difficult for her. But she kind of got through it one way or the other. So she had, she knew my phone number. Somebody in the office would answer. Oh, may I speak to Betty? Yes, sure. Here you go. So I'm Rashna. How are you? Good, Betty. How are you? Oh, I'm okay. Now every time I might change my answer. I'm okay. I'm all right. I'm fine. Not bad. Again, you kind of teaching them different ways that you can respond to a hello, how are you? Everybody is not going to say, oh, just fine, So she would get a different answer, and I'd have ask her, and after a while she started to give me different answers. I'm okay, good, fine, whatever. So what can I help you with, Rashna? I need a ride. Oh, okay. Where do you need to go? I need to go to the literacy center. Okay, now we know all this stuff. What time? I'll be there at quarter after. It's 12:30. Okay, I'll be there at quarter after 12 to pick you up. Okay, you'll be ready? Yes, I will. Okay, goodbye. See you at 12:15. So we would do this each week, and I'm sure she practiced a bit in between as well. That's a dialogue that obviously is much more specific to a given need. But just to practice this whole thing about dialogue, I know it's pointed out in the manual, in the book. So you're going to read the whole dialogue all the way through. Then you're going to read a sentence and the student will repeat it until it's finished. Then you're going to read it through again. The student will listen to it. Then you say it together, and then you say it as a dialogue. So for a simple thing, I'll do a little dialogue that's called, what's this? What's this? It's an orange. Do you like oranges? Yes, oranges are good. So now you're my students. So you're going to repeat this. What's this?
What's this?
It's
An orange.
An orange?
It's an orange.
It's an orange.
Do you like oranges?
Do you like oranges?
like oranges.
Yes, oranges are good.
Yes, oranges are good.
Well, listen again. What's this? It's an orange. Do you like oranges? Yes, oranges are good. Now we say it together.
What's this?
What's this?
It's an
It's
orange.
an orange.
Orange.
Do you,
Do you
like
oranges?
Oranges?
Yes.
Yes.
Oranges.
Oranges are good.
Oranges are good.
And then we say it as the dialogue. So now again, we've done repetition, done it in different ways. It's not totally boring, but now maybe it's gotten to everybody's head. So what's this?
It's an orange.
It's
What's
an
this?
orange.
Do you like oranges?
Yes.
Yes,
Oranges are good.
oranges are very
Are-
good. Are
Okay, now
good.
you ask me.
What's this?
What's-
What's this? It's an orange.
Do you like
Do you like
oranges?
oranges?
Yes, oranges are good. Okay, so now you've beaten this thing to death and hopefully, but it's a good lesson. It's a good listening and speaking exercise, you know? And this, if they're listening real hard, they haven't got a clue what the whole conversation might even be about. It's so funny sometimes because you want them to know the word, that you want them to know what an orange is, so that hopefully it doesn't come down to this. And with any dialogue, anything you're doing, if you're using words that they don't know, you know, it's like they can't get beyond the lesson or the point. Understanding is very important. Obviously, we could do something a little bit more lengthy. Excuse me, where are the restrooms? You're in an airport now. They're down the walkway on the right. Are they near Starbucks? Yes, they're between Starbucks and the gift shop. Thank you very much. That's a little bit longer. And then you go through the usual parts of it. So they're just really good. You've got the steps in a dialogue there in your book, I know. And it's something to think about. I think of doctor's appointments perhaps as being one of the things that you might want to put together, or a meeting with the teachers. Those things turn up with some real regularity and are very useful. Or going to the store, you know, where can I find cereal? Where's cassava? And not being afraid, even just to give them the courage. Remember, we've talked about our role as tutors is to give students confidence. They're usually nervous to go out and try to speak, you know, with their limited English. But if they practice with you and you're encouraging them, they get the confidence to go and try to do that. So that's the beauty of all of this stuff. I'd like you to try to do a dialogue for next week. There's some topics here. It's on page 9, where it talks about the steps in a dialogue. Even if you do a 4 to 6 line dialogue, asking for directions. A young woman goes to the bank, wants to open up a checking account. A student goes to the library to get a library card. That could be a very good one. Family's riding in the car and gets lost. Oh, they need directions. But you could do it on almost any topic. You know, these are just some ideas, but try to do one. And then share it with us next week. What am I trying to do here? The next thing is drills. Repetition, substitution, drills kind of go hand in hand very often. Some are more sophisticated than others. But if you were just doing something simple, you might be trying to teach somebody vocabulary regarding this. Try to use the same statement. This is a pencil, or it's a pencil. I like this is. This is a pencil. Pencil. What's this?
This is a
Pencil.
Pen. It's a pencil. Pen. This is a pen. Pen. What's this?
This is a pen.
And scissors. Scissors. This is a scissors. What's this?
This is a scissors.
What's
Pen.
this?
This is a pencil.
This is a pen. This is a pen. This is a scissor.
Good. Which reminds me. Red paper?
Now.
Paper lanu gula, paper lanu uli,
Oh, jeez.
sticky paper lanu gula, hockey paper lanu. I know, you all know that, you just don't want to show off. That's okay. So the simple substitution and repetition. More complex ones. Let me just go now. Something a little bit more complex might be several sentences. Can you all read that?
Boys ran to the library. Yep.
Mm-mm.
So the boy ran to the library, the ladies drank a cup of tea, the children went to the post office. So you could make some sentences like this, read them through, have them read them, and then do some point to, you know. And have them make the sentences, you know, point to different things and have them make up sentences as they're going to put them together a little bit differently than they appear here. So it gets a little bit more complicated. Again, it may not be the best examples in the world, but and to do a number of these kinds of things, again, just helps to expand their exposure to substitution, more complex kinds of sentences that they're using, and it's helpful.
Betty, it seems that what you're doing now, though, you're mixing verbal skills with reading skills. Whereas at the beginner level, I think we were just kind of talking mostly just verbal skills.
Well, really at every level, we're talking about.
At every level?
Yeah, I mean, it's really often a part of every lesson to the extent that you can, you know, listening. Of course, you're doing that just by virtue of your lesson. I mean, you're talking to Perla, she's listening. So the speaking part, just try to engage them in some kind of a little conversation, even if when you first meet, you know, how are you? How was your week? Did you like the snow? You know, did you get a lot of snow? You know, something to engage them in that. Some students much prefer the lessons. They feel more comfortable with that. So,
but you always include some reading part or some visual.
Exactly. And, you know, if you're using your lesson book, the Challenger series, that has a little bit of everything in it too. There's, you know, reading, there's comprehension, there's making up new words, some conversation. So you want to try to integrate it all as part of a whole. You know, you're not going to be doing this perhaps all the time, but nah, it's gone. I think of the homework from that lesson that we just had. You know, after going through all of that, okay, now I want you to write a paragraph about what I did on my vacation last week. Write something about what happened when you went to the store. So try to get that piece in. Because in everyday life, they're going to have to do some writing, conceivably. Write checks, write whatever. But you're trying to get all pieces of that. And for the more advanced students, I mean, some will really, like, who wants to, Claudia, your student, I think, just wants to focus on conversation. Yeah, to a greater or lesser extent, you can do that. And again, if you're listening and speaking, there might be things that can be read and get a little written piece. And even if the writing comes because you're doing a lesson in the book, you know, that would be probably sufficient. On the other hand, once a year, we do ask you, and that will be coming up sometime soon, to have your students write about something. You know, anything they want about their country, about coming to America, about something funny that happened to them. So we're looking for a piece to be submitted by everybody's student. Obviously, the beginning student is going to do something much less grand than an advanced student, but we try to get that from every student that we can. You can help them a bit. Again, if they're writing, remember what I said about having them skip a line. Jane.
Yeah, just wait.
That's good, thank you.
How often do you request that, and what kind of advance do you give us?
Tammy will be we'll be sending something out in maybe the next month or so.
Okay.
We used to get together nearby here. There's a Woodmont community house here. That's the old firehouse that was made over into a meeting hall, which is a very lovely venue for us. But we didn't do it last year, and probably we won't do it this year, where people come and read some of their stories, bring food. Everybody, shares all these ethnic foods, which are just wonderful. And, a good time is had by all kind of thing. But now we just try to get the students to submit something, gets compiled, and with any luck, we'll get a copy of this little book out to everybody. Imagine coming to America and you're a published author. The library, I think, has a whole bunch of our booklets. We have some of them here. They really do some very fine work. It's amazing how well they can write. And if it's not perfect, that's okay. But, try to keep construction appropriate, or places where you may have to, intervene a bit. There are things called response drills. Did that answer your question, Alan, in 10,000 words or more?
It did. No, it did. It's just that we should include reading as well at all levels. It's not just because we're at intermediate.
Right.
All levels. Okay.
And there might be some lessons where it just isn't practical, but ordinarily, keeping in mind that this is the way we learn a language. We learned it this way when we were kids, and even as adults, they have to, integrate these things in their workaday world. Response drills, I think you read about those as well. Just help students to be more independent and to help them be more able to answer questions that might come up. So you make a statement. The groceries are in the bag. Where are the groceries? Groceries in the bag, they say. The cat is in the house. Where's the cat? The cat is in the house. You can make up a whole bunch of these kinds of things and perhaps ask them to do the same for homework and then come back and go through them. But you can see it's reinforcement. They know the answer as soon as they hear the question, but this is good. They don't have to think about it. They can just respond. So those can be useful. And then transformation. You're changing a sentence into one that is grammatically related. So going from a positive statement and having them change it to a negative statement. John is very happy today. John is not happy today. Present to a past tense. John is sad today. John was sad today. A statement to a question. John is sad. Is John sad today? Noun to a pronoun. This might be a little bit difficult if they're not familiar with, in this case, we're using John as our current subject. They may not know whether John is a male or female name, so you might want to say it's a boy. Okay, so he. So John is sad, he is sad. Get them to substitute those pronouns for it, and then to change the subject altogether, where you're having John is sad today, Mary is sad today too. So you could do a lot of work with that. You could make faces, smiley faces, unhappy faces, frowning faces, hold up, plates that look like faces with frowns on them, smiles, and have them tell you what it is. A number of different kinds of things that can be done with that. How did you find that chapter 7? Anyways, that was the long, hard one.
There was a lot of information in there.
Yeah, a lot of information, right. You don't sit down and read it in 1 minute or less, or 10 minutes or less. It's, it's really got to be digested. And you may still want to go back to it. Just remember that it's there. It could be helpful to you, down the line if your lessons are getting stale or you want some other ideas. So yeah, for the reading, I don't want to forget this. Nuts. Where's my book here? So we've done 1 through 5, and 7. So you want to do 6.
What page are you on?
I'm looking at the book now. I have this written right down here. I'm just trying to give you homework, for reading. So you want to do chapter 6. Done 7 already. 8 and 9.
No, please.
6, 8, and 9.
Mais c'est très rasoir.
And that's in this book here, right?
Yep.
And then the appendices, you did A, B, and C last time. For this. I had end with I. You did A, B, and C last time. I wanted you to go through I. So D through I, which includes citizenship information, which some of your students might be asking you, who is going to help their student with driver's ed? Yeah, you were, Jane. There's stuff online. There's books here as well. Just look up GMB, I think, Department of Motor Vehicles, and they'll show you the test and, what kind of preparation has to be done.
Okay, thanks.
You're not obligated to take her out to drive, however.
Good.
You don't have to use your car.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so you could use their car, I guess, maybe, and watch them drive, but you don't want to do that either. But yeah, you can help them as much as you can and then hope for the best. Now, there's also these driver education classes, and I'm not sure what the availability is or who they're open up to. Anybody have any clues because of their kids? I know that the high schools offer them.
I would imagine they cost.
I would think nothing is terribly free these days. If anybody has any ideas. Anyway, it is out there, and you might want to try to investigate, sites, Jane, for them to take classes, if that would be more helpful to them. But you should be able to help, and they've got to study. Some things they just have to study. And you might find out about all the things that you're not doing copacetically these days based on what's in the manual. I speak for myself mostly, but so that could be fun. How advanced is
that's a good point. Driver ed classes are expensive. Are they offered at adult ed, do you think? Do you think they offer any free driver's ed classes at adult ed?
They might, but it doesn't ring a bell for me.
No, I've never heard of one, but yeah, I never really thought about that for, especially for English language learners. Where would you go for driver's ed?
Well, they wouldn't get anything specialized, I'm sure, for them. Wouldn't expect that, but at least the lesson. And, if they, to be able to go to lessons, and if they know what they were going to be studying the night, studying for that night, let's say, they could look at the book and be prepared to, if you know what they're saying, you can hear it better,
Yeah.
that kind of a thing. But yeah, that can be a challenge all the way around.
Okay. Tu peux voir?
No. Patrick's back with a smile. So just do D through I to look at these things.
Can I ask a question about writing? I'm not sure, but I think maybe Claudia, or Mary Ellen, are they teaching cursive in schools? Do we have to bother with cursive?
I don't believe they are.
Cursive is not being taught anymore in school.
No, it's not.
No.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, which is really unfortunate. They might be doing it in some of the private schools, the Catholic schools, or, Green Farms Meadow schools.
Okay.
I mean, I think we still in middle school, we still taught them to write, or tried to teach them to write their signature.
I was going to say, that's probably the one thing that you could focus on.
Right.
Good
Just
point.
a cursive signature.
Yeah. Yeah, that's difficult. The kids don't know cursive
Right.
anymore. I mean,
Right.
they ever have to try to read an old document or anything, it'll be like trying to read, German or French. or
Right,
Tongan, they don't know.
So for our students, we don't need to bother with cursive.
Unless they
I
have
wouldn't.
some real interest. I mean, there's too many other things. And again, keep in mind, at a lower level, you're trying to teach them survival skills.
Right.
Post office, their job, things related to their job, maybe a library, bank, going to the grocery store, riding a bus. I mean, these are the things that need to survive in this culture. So those are really kind of key things. And unless they're dying to learn how to write some cursive, again, you could spend, 10 minutes of your class doing a cursive A, B, and C, a few minutes each week, but not to give all your time to it.
Right.
They're absolutely dying. I mean, their major goal, I guess you got it, but I mean, life is too short to be spending a lot of time on this kind of stuff. They really need to have, other more important kinds of things in my mind. So I am probably speaking out of turn saying all this, but you know what I'm trying to say, I think. The last page in your book is ESL skills list. Not in the book, but in that chapter, it's page 15. I don't know if I introduced you to it before or not, did I? In the very beginning, meeting your student. Anyway, at some point, if you're powering along with things that your student needs to know, because that's their goal, you might want to give them a copy of this or go over it with them. Do you all see that? Page 15, last page in week 3. They might say, looking for a job.
Right.
What was the other thing here? Talk to the doctor, talk to the dentist. Go food shopping. But medicine labels. And I said, geez, I don't know anything about medicine labels, how to read them or what they're about. So you might spend a class or two just going over some of that. Just might tweak their memory or their thoughts about problems that they've had in communicating in the past or understanding something. Let's try, labels on clothes, sizes. They may not understand sizes. Now there's a whole new, way of looking at things. Our sizing is totally different than many other countries. I think I wear a size 53 or something in some countries and I end up being 11 here, So they really may not know how to look for clothing and shoes for their kids. So it's a nice little handout in any event. Where's my outline here? Something else. Tammy's going to try to get some of the tapes that we have on YouTube or some such thing, or show it next week when we're doing our classes. I really miss these things because seeing something done is worth a million words, and it would be useful to have these. Usually these lessons are interspersed with a video of one sort or another. So we'll see about having that next week. I almost had a tutor come and she had a conflict at the last minute. You would have enjoyed listening to her. I don't know if it's too. Yeah.
Else for homework that I should know?
No, it's your reading and that dialogue, if you can do that.
I'm actually doing the same thing, Betty. My husband has a doctor's appointment. We're taking off.
That's okay. Where are we here? It's been almost 2 hours. So, unless you have any other questions, try to meet with your students, develop more concrete goals, objectives for this. And, we'll talk some more next week.
Sounds good.
Okay, thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you, Betty.
Thank
You're
you,
welcome.
Betty.
Betty.
Pleasure's all mine.